Okay, hello, Daryl. I'm going to see if I can get this to work. I'm going to go ahead and record my new intro and post it. So this is my intro. Okay. Good morning and welcome. I'm glad you're here today. My name is Morgan Murphy, and I'll be your trainer today for developing emotional intelligence. I love this topic, talking about emotions. Emotions are something we have had and have been dealing with, whether we recognize it or not, our entire lives. Most of our earliest childhood memories have a really strong emotional component to them. When I was a kid, my parents divorced. I was 5 years old. And one of my strongest memories I have from my childhood is the day my dad moved out. I remember we lived on the ground floor of an apartment, and I was sitting on the balcony on the railing with like my hands around my knees and sobbing, watching him move boxes out of the house into the car. It's just a feeling that's just sort of really concrete, that stayed with me. Later in my childhood, though, I got to visit my dad, and we'd go to an amusement park. This was in Minnesota, a place called Valley Fair. It's still there today. It's like 30 minutes south of Minneapolis. And I remember riding a roller coaster there that had a loop-de-loop. Do you know what I mean? The loop-de-loop where you're in the car and you kind of go and you go upside down in this loop. So I'll admit, I don't mind telling you, I am old. I'm a child of the 70s, and this was a big deal at amusement parks. Back in the day, you went upside down once. These days, they have rides where you're practically launched into outer space, but back then it was the loop-de-loop. I loved it. You can just imagine me, little Morgan, I don't know how old I was, 8, 9, 10, screaming with this mixture of like excitement, but I was scared, and it's a really happy memory. I would go on that ride over and over and over again with my friends. But I also had an experience at Valley Fair when I was a kid. I think I was around 10 years old, where I got lost. Again, I'm old. Back in the 70s, the parents just let their kids go off and do stuff, but back then, I got lost, and I remember feeling so scared, like little 10-year-old me, little 10-year-old Morgan, walking through the crowds of all these people, just scared that I wouldn't be able to find my dad again. But it all worked out, and we got reunited. But the point in my life where emotions really started to matter was in my work life. And I imagine that that's why you're all here today, too. I don't see any 5-year-olds here. I don't see any 10-year-olds. We're all adults. So I'm assuming that you're here today because you care about your work life. You care about your career. And emotions are something that are mattering somehow for you and your work and your career. For me, I got myself into a really difficult spot in my first job out of school. I got a reputation for being someone who could not keep my cool and maintain composure. I worked for a large retailer in their headquarters in Dallas. It was a great job. I was technically very good at it. But I had this just couple instances where I lost my cool. Not like screaming or throwing things, but I remember like there was one instance where my boss came into my cubicle unexpectedly, and he had like 5 other people with him. They were interns. And he just blurted out this question at me unexpectedly, like, what advice would you give these people as they interview for jobs out of school? And I was so caught off guard, felt really put on the spot, and I was just really annoyed. I don't remember what response I gave, but I'm sure it wasn't great. And the expression on my face, I think you can tell already, even a couple minutes, my face shows expression. I snapped out some kind of annoyed response. It was not a good showing. And there were some other similar cases, because one day my boss came to me and he said, Morgan, people are talking about you. They're saying you can't keep your cool under pressure. They're saying you're emotional. And I was shocked. I honestly didn't realize what I'd been doing. But I didn't really do anything about it at the time. I just thought, okay, I guess I'm just going to try not to do that anymore. But it happened again. I was working in their training department, and it wasn't that long before my new supervisor, the vice president of the entire training department, called me into her office, and she said, Morgan, your teammates are coming to me complaining about you. They say you get really worked up about things. And I couldn't believe it. It happened again. And it really affected me. When it came time to be chosen for certain assignments, special projects, people were like, oh, no, Morgan doesn't have the demeanor to handle this. I was passed up for promotion there. And then it really hit me. It was like a bolt of lightning, just like hit my brain. I need to actively work on this. It's not just going to get better on its own. If I want to be successful, I need training. I need knowledge. I need to understand what's happening. I need resources that I can use day after day as I go through my work so that I can grow in my career. So I started to do just what you're doing here today. I started training. I went to classes like this. I read a lot about emotions and where they come from. I did self-assessments to better understand myself, like the one we're going to do here today in a little bit. And today I'm a lot better from where I was, to the point where when I left my last job to come here to work for Fred Pryor, people would say, but Morgan, you can't leave. You're the one who's always so positive when things get really tough, okay? So my job today is to teach you what I've learned about emotions all these years, why they matter, how to manage them. And even if you were voluntold to be here today, I see you out there, I see you nodding heads, that's okay. You're going to learn something today. My job is also to share resources with you that you can use when you leave today to help you grow in your career and in your other relationships in your life. Because would you agree, does the change happen overnight? Does it happen after the 6 hours today? No, it's a great start and it's good that you're here, but it's a journey you're on, right? So let's go ahead and get started. So that's what I have for that one. This meeting.